Sure.
We got to start with the Reds, though, Skinny.
Yeah.
I mean, it's rare that we can do it this time of year, so we've got to do it right now. They made a major offseason addition by signing veteran third baseman / designated hitter Eugenio Suarez to a 1-year, $15 million contract with a mutual option for the 2027 season. Suarez is coming off a 2025 year where he hit 49 homers, recorded 118 RBIs, playing both for the Diamondbacks and the Mariners. He also hit for a very low average and didn't have a very good on-base percentage, but that's not what we're talking about right now, Skinny. We're fired up because the Reds finally made an addition. How big of a needle mover is Eugenio Suarez?
Yeah, if he's the guy that you got at least a little bit of last year, I'm not expecting 49 home runs like he hit last year. And you could argue that at 34 years old after the trade, he slashed. Well, his OPS was under 700. He did hit 13 home runs in 53 games, which is a pretty good pace over the course of a year. That would still be 40 homers. But I think it's a real big addition for a couple of reasons. I just think it gives you that big bat in the middle of the order you need to protect Elly De La Cruz, to bounce a Spencer Steer down a notch. To now, you can hope for the following without these hopes having to come to fruition. You can hope Sal Stewart is a bona fide power bat. You can hope Elly bounces back, and that's he didn't have a bad year, but obviously from a power perspective, that he becomes that 30 home run plus guy. That Spencer Steer with a healthy year is a 25 to 30 home run guy. That Matt McClain, you can hope for all these things. Before you hope for all these things, and that's all you had was the hope. Now you've got a legit bat in the middle of the lineup that I just think it gives Terry Francona a lot of flexibility. Like, can you play against lefties a Sal Stewart at first, put Steer out in left field, Suarez DHs, and TJ Field's your only left-handed bat in that lineup? I mean, you've got a lot of things you can do with this. If Ke'Bryan Hayes doesn't hit at all, let's just say he doesn't, then, maybe Eugenio Suarez gets some starts at third base and Ke'Bryan Hayes becomes a very expensive but a late-inning defensive substitute. So kudos to the Reds front office for this. I didn't think they were going to be able to pull it off. They got it at a very reasonable price, the 1-year $15 million with a mutual option for 2027 with no buyout in there, no buyout clause in there. So listen, I wrote a column, and I think if you're going to rip a team when they don't do anything, I think you got to give you a tip of the cap when they do something. And while it wasn't Kyle Schwarber, it wasn't Pete Alonso, it's a legitimate power bat, and I tip of the cap to them. It's something they had to do, and they did it.
The more I think about this deal, the longer I took and let it settle in, the more I think, realistically, I think this is about as good as we could have expected the Reds to do this offseason, period.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, I'll make the argument, I think this is a better deal than getting Kyle Schwarber.
From a price perspective and all that thing. And
how much money you're committing to a guy who's late in his career with a big body, power bat, who's like, he's one hip, one back, one knee away from never being able to get close to those power numbers again at the age and size that he plays at.
Now he does draw a lot of walks, so he does some other things
more valuable.
That doesn't do. But to your point, from a value perspective, I completely agree with you.
He's a better offensive player. There is no question about that. But I made the argument at the time, like, should the Reds really be committing that type of money to a guy like Schwarber who's that late in his career for multiple years? A 1-year deal with a guy like Suarez is ideal for this team, in my opinion. Now, is he enough to actually get them over the hump when he's going to be hitting under 230 with an on-base percentage that's somewhere or in that same range? No, probably not. But when he's going well, he's a guy that actually changes your lineup. He actually fixes your glaring weakness. And somewhat he does provide some protection for Elly De La Cruz on an everyday basis in your lineup, which is the one thing that we really talked about the most last year and into the offseason that you had to fix. So is it going to be enough to get you over the hump? Is it going to be enough to solidify you as a playoff team? I don't know about any of that because I do think he has a lot of holes in his game still, but this is probably a ballpark that suits his game the best.
It does. I mean, his career OPS in Great American Ballpark's 858, and he homered one time every 18 plate appearances. So it is a ballpark that suits him. Now that was more in his, I shouldn't say his prime. He was a little bit younger, but this is a ballpark he's very comfortable hitting in. Yeah,
and he's the ideal clubhouse type guy. I mean, you're bringing in a guy that makes your clubhouse better. There's no issues from that perspective. The more I think about it, the more I just have to look at it and say, good job. Yeah. Like I said, I don't know if it's enough to get you where you want to go, but it's about as good as I think you could have done. And I saw MLB Network, I think it was Lance just tweeted this out, that MLB Network just ranked him number 9 in their list of top 10 third basemen. Like, Elly De La Cruz is number 9 at his position too. I mean, so if you're adding a guy that's basically as good as anyone on your team at their position from an outside perspective, I think you got to feel pretty good about that.
Yeah. The other part too is, okay, look, this was an 83-win team last year that had guys underperform through injuries, various whatever reasons. And again, I think it's fair to expect an improvement from Elly De La Cruz from a power perspective because he's healthy. Same for Steer. Again, the jury's still out on Matt McClain, but what if we get 2023 Matt McClain and you've added Suarez's bat and you've improved your bullpen and you're multiple deep at starting pitching to the point where a Chase Burns may not even make this team coming out of spring training. So you've improved on an 83-win team that had room for improvement as it was. And so I think this is a team that is a scary one when it gets to the playoffs. Hopefully it's not another, best of 3 series. You get a little bit deeper into it. Are you the Dodgers? No, nobody's the Dodgers. Their roster's ridiculous. But you have the pitching that maybe can get them in a short series. So we'll see. I just think you've improved on a playoff team, and granted they snuck in a little bit. Let's just go on an 83-win team. You've improved this with even more room for improvement with guys, rounding back into form.
Yeah, there's still the upside and the hopium that we were talking about, but it's no longer just that. You actually improved your roster, fixed one of your biggest issues, and they're just getting my level of excitement going into opening day. Had they not made this move, was going to be about a -5.
Yeah.
Now there's a legitimate reason to be excited as a Reds fan. It's not because Eugenio Suarez is this massive difference maker that's going to change everything, but to your point, it just kind of bumps everybody down a peg, makes everything a little bit more realistic for this team that if things go the right way, maybe you do have a special year. Maybe you can catch lightning in a bottle with your pitching staff and a couple of guys have a career year or start to, Mac McClain gets his career back on track. All of those things just feel like a more legitimate possibility now that you did add a big power bat in the middle of your lineup. The Reds win total, I just checked it this morning, still sits at 82.5 games. What are your feelings on that?
I mean, do we think this is a better club right now than it was last year?
Yes. I mean,
okay, that sounds like an easy answer, right?
I don't know how you don't feel good about taking the over on 82.5 right now, right?
Yeah, I can't believe that doesn't get bumped up a little bit.
I would think it's going to, but I just checked it before we went on. I'm still seeing 82.5. So the only other question I have for you is Nick Krall. He's taken a ton of abuse, and probably rightfully so at times, or at least he's the guy that's agreed to have that mark on him. He's in charge of putting together this roster, and I think it's fair to say it hasn't always been good. What do you say about Nick Krall going to the front office and being able to get them to spend a little bit more money to get a guy like Suarez here?
Kudos to you, man. You did a good job with adding to the bullpen. You added back of the roster depth in the outfield that unfortunately you thought for a few weeks were going to have to be a platoon starting situation. And now you don't. I mean, now that's not the case. And so, again, I know he's dealing with financial constraints, and I'm not going to back off the fact that I think they're full of crap that they were in the Kyle Schwarber market and that they were going to, that they offered Elly the greatest contract in the biggest contract in Reds history, whatever the heck that means. I thought those were both PR stunts, if you will.
Yeah.
But to what he did to add to this team, where you thought they're not going to add a legit power bat, they did.
The only part of this that does bother me a little bit, and again, I'm happy with them getting Eugenio Suarez. He's the best they could do at this point for what they needed. But it does crack me up that the only 2 guys that they were willing to spend the money on was Kyle Schwarber because he was a local guy and Eugenio Suarez because he's been here before and the fans love him. It's like, it's just such a fan mentality of how we put together the roster here. Those are the only 2 guys you're willing to overspend on is guys that you have familiarity with and already like.
And I would say sometimes the easy move to make is the right move to make. This was an easy move to make at that price, and it was also the right move to make.
Yeah, and let's be clear, I think Suarez took a hometown discount. He did.
He
calls this home, so I guess we can say hometown here.
He absolutely did.
Yeah. All right, any other thoughts on the Reds here?
No, I think this now gives you a lot of reason for excitement. And as I mentioned, I mean, just the upside of some of the players and the bounce back possibilities of some of the players, and now a legit power bat. It makes that lineup solid now. And even if, let's just say Gino goes through slumps, maybe Sal Stewart is a legit power bat and you bat him 4th instead. I mean, you've got a lot of flexibility lineup wise. You got a lot of flexibility position wise. Again, Ke'Bryan Hayes might wind up being the most expensive late inning defensive replacement ever, but you know what else you can do now? you can carry a 240 hitting Key Brian Hayes bat at the bottom of your lineup.
Yeah, that move still makes me mad, but it feels
Agreed.
less impactful now that you have more flexibility there.
Yep.
The Reds did also, I should mention, did figure out a new TV platform. MLB TV is going to be handling the production of their games, but it's going to be shown on local TV, correct, Skinny?
Yeah, but there's no real details yet. The only thing was it's going to cost about $100 for a season for streaming, $20 a month if you want to go monthly with it, and maybe some fans do. But we don't know, where's the streaming going to take place? Where is the local TV channel going to be that you're going to find it on? None of those particulars are set yet, and that to me is why. I mean, this was always the move. I know the Reds made this some news to some degree, but there really wasn't much new to this. They pulled out of their rights with FanDuel, as did 6 or 7 other teams weeks ago, and MLB was always going to do the production, and they came out with this big thing of here's how we're going to do it. Well, where is it going to be? Can you help us with that?
I guess the thing is, if you commit to the MLB TV, it's more of like a revenue share model than them committing a bunch of money to you up front, right? That's the way I understand it. So that's why the teams hold out. They want one of the media partners to offer them the big deal up front, and they know what's coming in. I just think we're past that point. I think the best thing that they can do, and you and I talked about this, if it's on my cable provider, which I assume it will be because I pay for cable, I'm not buying this. If it wasn't, I'm just not going to pay the $100. Maybe you would get enough subs to make the revenue worthwhile. Maybe they find out after all of this, to hell with you, cable. We're not getting enough from you. We're just going to do all streaming, and they may do that. The release said that it's going to be streamed in local market. It's going to be shown on TV in local markets. So it just didn't say where. So we'll wait to see what comes out about that. I do believe the streaming will be just MLB TV. I think that
would be my guess too. Yes.
Yeah, where they handle all of that. So, all right, we'll continue to stay updated on that. But some news for optimism here about the Reds all of a sudden. For at least 10 days at the beginning of the season, we can do our opening day celebration. We can watch them start 2-8 before we lose all hope, and we'll be excited for a week and a half.
And we are 5 days from pitchers and catchers reporting.
There you go.